Shattered trust. Emily Parker always found comfort in order. Her days meticulously planned, her ambitions clear, her heart steadfast. At 28, she was one of the youngest associates to ever make partner track at Gray, Lowell & Barnes, a prestigious Manhattan law firm known as much for its cutthroat cases as its dazzling Christmas parties overlooking Central Park. To her colleagues, Emily was a rising star, impossibly composed even under the highest pressure. But her private world was colored by warmth and laughter. She shared an apartment in Brooklyn Heights with her longtime boyfriend, David Miller. David, thoughtful, witty, equally driven, worked alongside her in the litigation department. They met as interns 6 years before, bonding during late-night study sessions and gradually growing inseparable, both in and out of the office. Over the years, their relationship evolved from innocent flirtation to steady, mature love. Their closest friends called them the unstoppable duo, secretly assuming that white wedding invitations were only months away. From the outside, theirs was a storybook cliché. Two bright young attorneys navigating New York's legal jungle, thriving on mutual support and shared aspirations. On weekends, they would linger over espresso at a favorite West Village cafe, trading mock opening statements and discussing future plans. A house in the suburbs, a golden retriever, perhaps children, a life seemingly within their grasp. Emily trusted David implicitly, not just because of his charm or intellect, but because his loyalty felt unshakable. At work, they were equals in every sense. Sometimes friendly rivals, sometimes collaborators. If Emily excelled at analytical research, David was a master in the courtroom. His cross-examinations, legendary among junior associates. There was mutual respect, a bond built from years of facing high-profile cases together. Their late-night walks through the city, shoulders brushing, dreams whispering between shared silences, gave Emily a sense of belonging, rare in such a competitive world. Yet beneath this flawless surface, Emily sometimes sensed a subtle tension she couldn't quite name. Moments when David grew distant after late meetings with Monica Reed, a cunning, ambitious attorney from a rival firm, explained away by the pressures of their profession. Emily dismissed these anxieties, choosing trust over suspicion. After all, David's assurances were always gentle and convincing, and she prided herself on not letting jealousy cloud her judgment. Emily's circle extended beyond the office. Her best friend, Jessica Brown, a journalist, often teased, "You and David are disgustingly happy. It's annoying." Emily would just laugh, feeling grateful for the stability in her life. Even her parents back in Connecticut often remarked on how proud they were, not just of her career, but the life she'd built. Emily's confidence was rooted in this foundation: professional respect, unwavering loyalty, and love. But, as the chapter closes, a faint shadow falls, a voicemail left unexplained, a client file that goes missing, an offhand remark from a colleague about trust in the legal profession. The sense of order in Emily's world teeters, though she cannot yet see how profoundly it is about to unravel. The shock of betrayal. The crisp autumn air hung heavy as Emily Parker walked into the office that Monday, unaware her world was about to tilt off its axis. Her morning had begun like any other, coffee in hand, the city humming below her, a procedural email from a colleague. But as the elevator doors slid open, the undercurrent of anxiety from the previous week lingered. A nagging feeling, whispers between cubicles, furtive glances cast her way, itching beneath Emily's skin. It started with an innocuous memo. Her name had been removed from an important case. A pro bono lawsuit she and David had pitched together months ago. Puzzled, she scrolled through her inbox, only to find a vague departmental notice. Due to recent concerns, case assignments will be temporarily restructured. Buried beneath legalese was an implication, one she did not yet grasp. By noon, the whispers grew louder. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Call me right away." A second later, a partner summoned her to the glass-walled conference room. David and Monica Reed, already seated, their expressions unreadable. What followed unfolded in slow motion. Monica presented a stack of documents, emails, transfers, correspondence signed with Emily's digital signature. The accusation that Emily had funneled client funds into a suspicious outside account, a trail, on paper, leading directly to her. Her denial was instant and desperate, but Monica's calm recitation of events was chillingly rehearsed. David, avoiding her gaze, offered only a strained apology. "I'm sorry, Em. The evidence is compelling." The room closed in around her. Each word felt surgical, a betrayal orchestrated with precision. She saw in Monica's cool gaze not just professional rivalry, but something colder, almost gleeful. David, the man she trusted implicitly, sat silent. His body language betrayed nothing, but the absence of his support was a sharper wound than any accusation. By the end of the meeting, Emily was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. A subtle but forceful security escort collected her badge and laptop. "Process, not punishment," they assured her. As she passed through the lobby, eyes followed her, curious, judgmental, some even pitying. The buzzing energy of the firm had turned sharp and alien around her. The walk home was a blur. Brooklyn's vibrant sidewalks now felt immense and cold, the city's pulse indifferent to her pain. Texts from friends piled up, some worried, some probing for gossip. She ignored them all. At her apartment, evidence of her life with David surrounded her. Shared mugs, a photograph from their last Maine vacation, the scent of his cologne, still on a scarf draped over the sofa. When his key turned in the lock that evening, their confrontation was inevitable. Emily pleaded for an explanation. David's excuses were as fragile as autumn leaves. Vague references to stress, mistakes, the impossibility of fighting the evidence. He avoided her eyes. Defending Monica's professionalism felt like a slap. "It's just business, Emily. I can't risk everything for a—" He never finished the sentence. The word lie hung unspoken between them. That night, Emily sat alone on her balcony, knees hugged to her chest, the city's lights blurring with her tears. Her phone lit up with news alerts. Promising young attorney suspended amid fraud allegations. Her world, career prospects, friendships, even her core sense of self, was crumbling. Worst of all, shame gnawed at her. How could she have missed the signs? How could someone she loved so deeply, trusted so fully, orchestrate her downfall? Every shared memory twisted, tainted by hindsight. Emily's apartment became a cage of doubts and sleepless nights. The phone calls from her parents, once sources of comfort, became interrogations masked as concern. "Are you all right, honey? Is there anything you're not telling us?" Jessica, the only friend who seemed to believe her without question, offered what little comfort she could through the digital haze. By week's end, Emily was alone, cut off from her firm, her name feeding the rumor mill, her faith in others shattered. The betrayal burned brighter than any legal case she'd ever lost. More than fear or humiliation, it was the ache of a blade twisted by those closest to her, a wound that for now showed no sign of healing. Rock bottom, for days, Emily Parker scarcely moved from her couch, her world shrinking to the harsh rectangle of her phone's glowing screen. Headlines, messages, a torrent of shame swirling in her mind. Sunlight filtered through the curtains, indifferent to her suffering. A mountain of unread emails in a pile of unopened mail. Legal notices, possibly, or bills long ignored, accumulated on her kitchen counter. The very life she'd built now felt distant and alien, as if she were an imposter, occupying someone else's apartment. Her career, once the cornerstone of her identity, lay in ruins. No more frantic commutes through city crowds, no hushed debates in conference rooms lined with case files, no late-night laughter with David after a victory in court. The firm removed her name from online listings. The Bar Association sent a curt email confirming her suspension, pending the ongoing investigation. Doors that were once wide open now slammed shut, one after another. Friends she'd counseled through heartbreaks and professional failures suddenly fell silent, or worse, sent clipped, polite messages loaded with suspicion. I heard what happened, R.T. You okay? Is it true what they're saying? A college roommate stopped replying. Former colleagues, uncertain where their loyalties should lie, distanced themselves. No one wanted to share in disgrace. Only Jessica remained, her empathy persistent, but unable to pierce Emily's growing cocoon of bitterness. Emily's parents called daily from Connecticut, their voices wavering between concern and disappointment. We love you no matter what, but this is so unlike you. Are you sure there isn't something you need to confess? The implication stung more than outright blame. Each question was a knife, twisting the wound. Where had she gone wrong? How could she have walked so blindly into this disaster? Nighttime was the worst. Brooklyn's muted city sounds used to comfort her. Now they pressed against the windows like ghosts. She lay awake, night after night, replaying every conversation with David, every small decision, trying to pinpoint what she'd missed. Self-doubt gnawed at her. Was she truly the brilliant lawyer everyone thought? Or just a naive girl in over her head? The shame was suffocating. Emily avoided social media, but screenshots made their way to her anyway. Gossip threads, cruel memes, anonymous messages questioning her integrity as a lawyer and a person. Her photo, once a symbol of accomplishment, now drew jeers. Invitations to alumni gatherings and networking mixers stopped arriving. Even mundane activities became trials. A trip to the bodega meant risking accidental eye contact with neighbors who'd seen the news. Once, her usual barista offered careful sympathy. Emily couldn't meet her gaze. The world felt smaller, and she smaller in it. Her savings, painstakingly built, now dwindled. She had to freeze her credit cards. A looming sense of financial insecurity joined the anxiety already poisoning her thoughts. Even therapy appointments, which she scheduled at Jessica's urging, felt pointless. She couldn't speak openly without crying or lashing out at herself. In those darkest hours, Emily considered leaving New York entirely, disappearing to some small town where no one knew her story, where the city's relentless judgment couldn't find her. But even escape felt out of reach. Her name was tainted, her reputation gone. Moving on seemed impossible, healing unthinkable. One rainy night, sitting cross-legged on the hardwood floor, surrounded by the detritus of her former life, casebooks, framed photographs, law school diplomas. Emily at last allowed herself to grieve. She grieved for her lost career, her sense of safety, her faith in others. Tears came in waves, not the sharp tears of rage, but the deep, silent sobs of exhaustion. She felt utterly empty, a vessel drained of hope. For now, this was her reality: isolation, loneliness, and a deep, unnameable pain. Emily existed in limbo, a shadow of her former self, unsure if or how she would ever find solid ground again at the end of that. The tunnel days inched by, leaving Emily Parker submerged beneath a tide of shame and hopelessness. Shadows lingered in every corner of her Brooklyn apartment, even the smallest things: a chipped mug, the echo of a paused voicemail, hurt in ways she would never have imagined months ago. Sleep eluded her. Food tasted like ash. She drifted, ghost-like, between the scraps of her old life and an endless, gray present. The only ray of light breaking through the gloom was Jessica Brown. Jessica was the antithesis of defeat: brash, compassionate, persistent. Her loyalty rarely took no for an answer. For days, Jessica called, texted, dropped off groceries and pastries at Emily's door, refusing to be turned away. At first, Emily let the calls ring out, ignored the knocks. But Jessica would stand in the hallway, reading aloud the headlines or describing the ridiculous adventures of her reporting job, in a voice too loud for the neighbors' comfort. Eventually, exhaustion and the stubborn warmth of old friendship broke through Emily's shell. On a cloudy Thursday afternoon, Emily finally opened the door. Jessica, arms loaded with takeout bags and the latest tabloid, burst in like a gust of fresh air. "Jesus, Em, you look like you haven't slept in a year," Jessica teased, her eyes scanning Emily for silent wounds. "Sit, eat, yell at me, whatever you need. But you're not rotting away alone on my watch." Emily almost smiled for the first time in weeks. The familiar clutter of their friendship, the shared jokes, the safe channel for honest anger, allowed her to lower her guard. As they ate lukewarm Thai food and watched the city slide into evening, Emily found herself talking, at first in fits and starts, then in full sentences, about David's betrayal, about Monica, about the suffocating silence from her former friends and colleagues. Jessica listened without judgment. She wasn't there to pry, to rush Emily to move on, or to offer hollow reassurances. Instead, she asked questions only when necessary, nodding at each ragged confession. "I don't know who I am anymore," Emily admitted at one point, her voice barely above a whisper. "Bullshit," Jessica scoffed, setting her container down. "You're Emily Parker. You're smarter than those jackals. You survived law school with a caffeine allergy, remember? You have every right to be furious, and you're allowed to break down. But don't confuse what happened to you with who you are." For the first time, Emily didn't recoil from the comfort. Maybe, she realized, what she felt was not just despair. There was a current of anger beneath, tightly coiled and sharp. As the night wore on, Jessica shared her own perspective, what the public was saying, how quickly people's memories faded, how scandals fueled gossip, but rarely lasted. "People love a good scandal," she said. "But you know what they love more? A comeback." That seed, tiny as it was, took root. After Jessica left, Emily lay awake, replaying the conversation. She remembered her best cases, the electric satisfaction of uncovering the truth, the discipline and strategy she once wielded so confidently. Over the next days, Jessica became a fixture, a call in the morning, a knock in the afternoon, joining Emily for walks, even when Emily complained. She brought tabloid clippings laced with cruel speculation and angrier commentaries. Rather than hiding them, Jessica tossed them onto the kitchen table. "Look at what they're saying," she urged. "Pick it apart. If you want to be angry, do it. If you want to fight, I'll have your back." Slowly, Emily's pulse began to sink with a rhythm she'd almost forgotten. The instinct to question, to analyze, to fight back. She started scribbling notes on legal pads, mapping out timelines and players. The more she reviewed what had happened, the more she saw patterns, holes, inconsistencies in the accusations. No true criminal leaves a perfect frame-up. There are always mistakes, overlooked details. A breakthrough came one quiet afternoon as Emily reread copies of the digital correspondence used to accuse her. She noticed a minor error in the timing of her digital signature, one that didn't line up with her real work hours or location. It was a sliver, hardly worth notice, but to Emily, it was enough to reawaken the lawyer within. She called Jessica immediately. "It's small, but it's something. They sloppily copied my email signature, but the timestamp puts me at a team meeting with 4 witnesses." Jessica, ever the reporter, started digging for her own leads among the city's legal gossip mill. Within days, she'd unearthed rumors about Monica's ambitious moves at her rival firm, rumors of skipped protocols and questionable victories. Sitting around Emily's kitchen table, beneath a mess of notepads and old case files, the two women began assembling the bones of a plan. Jessica coached Emily through the mechanics of public relations, how to control the narrative, what details would clear her name, and which journalists would be sympathetic. For the first time since her world shattered, Emily allowed herself to imagine not just surviving, but fighting back. But progress was not linear. Some days, old hopelessness resurfaced, a call from a distant friend that went to voicemail, a scathing blog post that sent Emily crawling back under her blankets. On these days, Jessica remained patient, sometimes dragging Emily out to Prospect Park, sometimes just sitting with her in silence. "Forward is forward," she said. "You get to move at your own damn pace." Gradually, Emily took more control. She scheduled an appointment with her old therapist, not to vent, but to sharpen her mental tools. She restarted her morning routines, if only to reclaim a sense of normalcy. She even visited the firm's building, not to plead for her job, but to watch from across the street, mapping the comings and goings, seeing patterns in the people who now averted their gazes. Drawing on her skills, Emily rebuilt her wall of evidence. She pieced together emails, expense reports, and security records. She sketched out not only what had happened to her, but how David and Monica had orchestrated the betrayal, falsified signatures, unusual transfers, whispered alliances among cynical colleagues. There were nights when the wounds reopened, when grief for her lost dignity threatened to undo all progress. But now, the pain felt different. It was fuel that burned with a cold, steady flame. Not blinding hopelessness, but something sharper. Finally, late one evening, Emily met Jessica's eyes across the kitchen table, a determined set to her jaw she hadn't worn in months. "They want me to disappear," Emily said, voice low but unshaking. "But they're the ones who should be afraid. I know where to look, and I'm going to prove what they did. Jessica grinned, pride mingling with relief. Damn right. The city outside still pulsed with indifferent lights and distant noise. But as Emily looked out over the skyline, she felt, for the first time since her fall, that the darkness was thinning, and the horizon held a glimmer of hope. Silent mind games. Emily Parker had always sharpened her instincts like tools, a habit perfected in courtrooms and depositions. But the stakes had never been quite so personal, the hours never so shadowed by secrecy. Now, moving quietly through the tremulous days that followed her resolve, she transformed her pain into purpose. Retribution was no longer a fleeting fantasy. It was a meticulous project, unfolding one silent step at a time. Her first task, intelligence gathering. Emily knew any clumsy attempt to confront David or Monica directly would only tip her hand. Instead, she became invisible, a ghost drifting through spaces she once claimed openly. She donned old running clothes and a Yankees cap, weaving through the Manhattan crowds without recognition. She frequented the coffee shop across from her old firm, eyes shielded by sunglasses, her notepad tucked in her messenger bag. She watched, she listened. Every gesture, every exchange, especially those involving David or Monica, became potential ammunition. It was an odd kind of freedom, moving through the city as a shadow. She picked up patterns she had overlooked for years, the rhythm of Monica's comings and goings, always with a new designer bag and clutch of confidential files, the nervous banter among junior associates when David entered a room, Monica's habit of taking phone calls on the rooftop garden, pacing as she lit cigarette after cigarette, her words clipped and urgent. Emily started tracing digital breadcrumbs too.
Detour.
Using the knowledge she'd earned as a diligent associate, she pored over public records, scheduling databases and court dockets online. She found evidence of a handful of cases Monica had,
children.
one with suspicious ease, settlements that seemed out of character for opposing counsel. A strange coincidence, perhaps, until she cross-referenced the dates and saw a spike in sudden real estate purchases, all under shell corporations whose filings could be traced, with enough digging, back to Monica's known associates. Jessica lent her skills without hesitation. Her contacts in the world of investigative journalism proved golden. Together they constructed a mind map on Emily's living room wall, every lead another colored string connecting faces, transactions, meetings. Emily's apartment no longer felt like a tomb. Now, it was her war room. Careful to leave no digital trail, Emily relied on burner phones and internet cafes for outreach. She contacted 2 former administrative assistants who'd quietly left the firm. Over clinking mugs at a noisy diner, she listened as one described David's sudden taste for expensive watches and his habit of locking documents in a safe that only Monica could access. Even after office hours, Emily's analytical mind worked overtime. She tied cash transfers at odd hours to Monica's elaborate web of fake consulting agreements. By now, her suspicions felt like certainty. But suspicion didn't topple titans. Facts did.
Why am I different?
Late at night, sleepless and driven, Emily braved a return to the firm. Not through the front entrance, but through the service area, where cleaning crews took their smoke breaks. Jessica, keeping watch out front, texted updates in code. Emily waited until Monica's car pulled away just before midnight, then slipped into the lobby, blending in with the janitorial staff. She timed her entrance just as the cleaning crew swiped their badges, and found herself alone in the dimly lit hallway outside Monica's office. Each step was practiced, heart pounding, but hands steady. Emily knew the lock code. Monica hadn't bothered to change it.
Attention,
Inside,
students. A
she
quick
moved
announcement
quickly,
regarding the science
files
fair.
stacked
Lily
in close
Evans,
order,
please come to the main
her
office.
eyes seeking any trace of the shell companies or falsified documents
You'll just embarrass
that would
us.
tie Monica and David together. She pulled out files on the recent charity fundraiser case, made quick scans with her phone, tucked everything back precisely. Her pulse marked time in her ears. She left as stealthily as she came, vanishing into the January night.
I'm
Over
so
the
glad
next
to be a
days,
part of this community.
Emily deepened
Yes,
her
sir.
investigation. She watched as Monica met
We're glad
with
to
a
have you
known
here.
money laundering
I know
consultant
you were here,
in
Lily,
Midtown.
and now it is gone.
She snapped
I
pictures
was
with
in
her
the West
phone,
Wing all morning,
logging license plates
cataloging
and
the new
timestamps.
acquisitions.
She quietly
As I
recorded
stand
a
here
conversation
today, I
in a
realize
crowded
that my journey
elevator.
has been shaped
Monica's
not by
side
the
of the call,
challenges, but by the
exposing a
strength
desperate
I found
attempt
within.
to hide funds before the year's end. Each nugget of intel was quietly filed away in her encrypted drive. Emily felt herself becoming more attuned to duplicity. She slid into legal mixers in Queens and Lower Manhattan, blending with a crowd,
We are going to be
recalling when
best
she was the
friends.
promising golden girl of litigation. She stayed in the background, listening for chatter about Monica's extracurricular profit-making and David's sudden withdrawals from shared accounts. She noted every smirk and sidelong glance, every warble in a story that had once sounded
I was particularly
plausible
struck by your
and
incisive
now
essay
rang
on
hollow.
ecosystem resilience.
One night,
How would you feel
Jessica
about joining us as
arrived
an
with a
undergraduate
printed
research
thread
assistant?
from an anonymous legal whistleblower blog, a tip-off about a high-profile associate under investigation
gosh.
for internal fraud.
I know,
Hidden
right?
details stood out. The misspelled
movie is
name
so
of an
bad.
offshore law firm, a reference to a dead-drop location Emily had seen in Monica's files, even veiled references to an ambitious duo
You work
who
so
thought they were
hard.
invincible.
You deserve this.
Emily read and reread the post, the pieces
So, how was your
finally
English
clicking
class?
together.
I thought the
Then
discussion
came
on literary
reconnaissance
theory was a
of
bit
Monica
abstract,
and
didn't you?
David's
Yes,
social
a little.
circles. Emily
I am more
posed
than
as a
just
new
a ghost
client,
of who I once
attending a
was.
real estate
I
seminar
am strong,
where Monica
capable,
moonlighted
and ready for
as
anything.
counselor for high net worth asset management. She asked leading questions, feigning ignorance. Monica's answers were practiced, but laced with
So,
impatience.
let's start with chapter
her
3,
gaze
shall we?
slipping whenever Emily referenced
bit stuck on the last
anti-money
section.
laundering regulations. The exchange was short, but left Emily with a business card and a tailwind of new clues. Back home,
These
the
findings
red
suggest
thread
a
on her wall
paradigm
map
shift in our
multiplied.
understanding.
Names, companies, addresses appeared, shell companies, overpaying for legal consultations, disbarred accountants reappearing as advisors, a pattern of deleted emails that coincided with every large transfer. Emily cataloged everything in neat legal briefs, complete with timelines, supporting
there it is.
screenshots, and witnesses, ready not only for the police, but also for the courtroom. By now, Emily understood the rules of this silent duel.
Let's keep up this great
She
work,
sent
team.
anonymous tips to the firm's compliance officer, knowing Monica would become only more reckless under scrutiny.
You've got this.
At a law luncheon, she
got
positioned
this.
herself near Monica's
keep
newest
going.
protege, gently prodding about
this is
late-night
so funny.
strategy sessions.
It is
The
so
girl,
funny.
nervous and eager to please, hinted
She's
at
gonna
confidential
crack.
settlements and unusual bonuses. Emily feigned surprise and gratitude, careful not to draw suspicion. Through it all, Emily kept silent. Her heart wanted to scream, to confront David in the street, to demand justice from those who'd stolen her life. But patience was her shield, stealth her sword. In the quiet hours before dawn, she pored over evidence and composed measured, ironclad emails to investigative authorities. As January wore on, fatigue sometimes swept over her. Exhaustion from both grief and tenacity. Yet each discovery, each new piece of the puzzle, hardened her resolve. She was no longer simply the victim, nor the exiled associate. She was the hunter now, closing in on her prey, not with outrage, but with the cold clarity born from final betrayal. By the chapter's end, Emily's case file had tripled in size.
You certainly took your time.
The shadow game was nearly over. She'd charted the enemy's territory, mapped every back door and every blind spot. The time for silent mind games
We are on
was drawing
track for
to
a
an end.
successful restoration
The next
project,
move
with
would be
all
public
logistical challenges
and
being
irreversible.
effectively managed.
But for tonight, Emily simply watched the midnight skyline from her window. New York's city lights flickering like the courtroom lamps she'd once known so well. Her future was still uncertain, but one thing was clear. She had reclaimed her agency.
I should have been
and
kinder to
soon
you.
The world would see what she had uncovered in the darkness. The trap is sprung every step. Emily Parker took,
The weather
now
has been
carried
quite
the weight of
relentless lately, has it
calculation
not?
and quiet anticipation. Gone was the shadow of the broken woman who had once cowered in her own apartment. In her place
Thank you, Lily.
moved
Your
a
work on the
deliberate
town hall has
strategist,
been truly
hunting in
exceptional.
silence
we are all
and closing
so
in
grateful
on
for
her
your
prey.
dedication and skill.
Emily began with small, seemingly innocuous steps, subtle moves designed to goad Monica and David into complacency.
I'm so glad to see you.
She fabricated digital
We've missed
documents
you so much.
containing faint mistakes
It's wonderful to see
only
you
a
like
guilty
this.
party would notice, then left them in places she knew Monica checked. These carefully planted breadcrumbs spoke in a language of temptation, coded hints that someone else in the firm might be discovering their old tricks,
That isn't allowed,
or
Dad.
that there could be
It's a
more
conflict of
exploitable
interest.
opportunities
understand.
just out of reach. Monica, convinced of her own brilliance, bit at every lure. In her old haunts, Emily observed the shift. Monica's confidence,
We are
once so
united
icy
by a
and
common
controlled,
goal,
now teetered
a
on
shared
the edge of
vision
arrogance.
for our future.
At a midtown bar one evening,
We
Monica
must
all but
restore the
bragged
old
about an
standards.
imminent windfall
We can
to a
bring
pair
back
of junior
the glory.
partners. She laughed louder, spent more
No
freely,
one in the community
flaunted
called him
new
first
jewelry.
anymore.
David seemed less steady, fidgety, and peering over his shoulder, haunted by the guilt from his
Hi,
betrayal
Lily.
Hi,
and wary of loose ends. Behind the scenes, Emily moved pieces
I can
into
arrange
position.
for a reputable contractor
She met
to
with
handle this
Detective
at a
O'Neill,
discounted rate.
the white-collar crimes officer Jessica had connected her with, in a Queens coffee shop
that you're
far
suddenly
from legal
the
ears.
favorite?
O'Neill, jaded but intrigued, listened as
I
Emily
am
laid
so
out the
honored to be
timelines,
here tonight as
digital
we celebrate
forensics,
our community.
and transcripts she'd gathered. The detective nodded slowly, knowing they needed Monica and David to incriminate themselves with fresh evidence, recent and undeniable. Emily proposed a scheme. Let them believe the coast was clear, then force their next step into the open. Simultaneously, Jessica's
just
network
can't.
of journalists began receiving anonymous tips, rumors of internal corruption at Gray, Lowell and Barnes, whispers that rival legal foes might soon be exposed. These rumors were just vague enough to stir talk in the legal community without naming names, priming the local press to take notice
I don't want to
if
pretend
anything
anymore.
dramatic broke. Emily orchestrated her primary trap
did it.
through a bogus charitable foundation,
I did it.
posing as an intermediary. Her cover crafted with the help of a computer-savvy friend, she sent Monica's partnership email an invitation.
I was just so
The firm
jealous.
had an opportunity to oversee a lucrative but secretive overseas investment using a series of shell companies. The
That
deal,
I failed you.
while bristling with legal red flags, was enticing and appeared vulnerable to insider manipulation.
I just don't
Specifically,
need your
the type
approval
Monica
anymore.
relished. Within hours, Emily observed Monica accessing the fake portal, scanning its files, and sending signals to David. The days that followed pushed Emily's nerves taut.
I was proud.
She coordinated with
Not in the
O'Neill,
way that counted.
making sure the operation's details were logged and time-stamped by authorities, and kept Jessica in the loop to monitor any rumors in the city's
Thank
buzzing
you.
law and finance circles. From her apartment, her war room, a new pattern began to emerge. Monica and David were accelerating. They made late-night calls from burner phones, arranged hasty meetings in the back rooms of wine bars, and transferred
If I
small
forgive,
sums between client accounts.
Is it for their sake?
Like mice probing a
or
maze
mine?
before making the leap to the cheese. Emily watched
I
as
am
Monica
willing
took the
to
bait,
let the past
diverting client
become
funds,
past
marked
with
and traceable
boundaries.
thanks to Emily's ploys, into the supposed
Thank you.
foundation. Each step was backed by a digital footprint.
Thank you.
Screenshots, transfer receipts, even a
if we tried the
surreptitious
roses over
recording
there?
from a hidden bug
That would look
planted
absolutely
outside Monica's
charming.
office door.
Oh, that's
David,
a lovely idea.
We need one more signature. No one's watching this time. With each risky move, Monica and David wove themselves deeper into Emily's net. Yet it was not just numbers and files that determined the game's course. Emily played a psychological battle as well. Subtle reminders appeared for Monica and David. Reminders only they would decode. A text message to Monica's burner.
It's going to be
Loose
beautiful here
ends
again.
sink ships.
Every one
An
of us has
envelope
a story
slipped
of
into David's
resilience,
gym locker
a tale
with a
of
single
overcoming,
sentence.
and the quiet power
Trust,
of a second
once
chance.
broken, cuts deeper
Thank you for
than
joining
the
me.
sharpest
Of course.
cross-examination. Each message stoked paranoia and urgency, prodding them to make
And that was the end of
mistakes.
that.
A tipping point came on a
I
storm-soaked
cannot believe that
Thursday
actually
evening.
happened.
Monica and David, believing their final transfer had gone through undetected, met in the glass enclave of a luxury hotel. Unbeknownst to them, their every word was recorded by police surveillance. Monica was exultant, mapping out how they'd launder the funds abroad.
I've been thinking
and
about
planning
selling
the
the Carson
exit
house.
strategy if things got hot. David's nerves frayed,
I'm going
and he
to a
wavered
city
on the
where
edge
no
of
one will
collapse.
know my last name.
But Monica pressed on, now too far in to see the trap for what it was.
I will not stay
Emily,
at the Carson house.
across the street,
Not
with
even
O'Neill's
in
team,
Silverbrook.
tracked each movement via comms. The adrenaline
My happiest
was
memories
electric.
happened beyond
All
these
at
walls.
once, the door to the hotel meeting room burst open. Detectives sweeping in. Monica froze, her calculating eyes searching for escape. David's hands
Farewell.
shook as police recited his rights. His bravado finally crumbled. On Monica's confiscated laptop, every digital fingerprint Emily had traced was mirrored. The fake deal, the siphoned funds, and a web of correspondence leading straight to both conspirators. The aftermath played out in waves. By dawn, the firm buzzed with news of arrests. Journalists who'd followed Jessica's clues arrived, cameras and microphones in hand, catching Monica and David in cuffs. Emily herself was kept out of the spotlight, her wishes respected by O'Neill and Jessica. But she watched the coverage unfold from her darkened apartment, shoulders trembling with cathartic exhaustion. What lingered most was not simply vindication, but the bittersweet ache of truth coming to light. As day broke over
I
the
noticed
skyline,
Lily's genuine
Emily
passion for
stared through
sustainability,
trembling tears
giving her a
at the
chance over
sunrise.
candidates with
The
glossier
ghosts of
resumes.
betrayal receding in the pale gold glow. The trap
You
had
remind
been
me of
perfectly
myself at your
set,
age.
and now her tormentors,
Only you're braver.
once so certain of her destruction, were facing justice of the very sort they believed themselves immune to. For Emily, the game was finally transparent. The evidence she and her allies had built was airtight. Her enemies had outwitted themselves. The sleepless nights, the fear, and self-doubt, each sacrifice had served a purpose.
That was
To
excellent
expose
work,
the
Lily,
rot
finding that
and lay a new
discrepancy in the
path
water
forward.
quality readings.
But the story was not yet over. As Emily exhaled for the first time in months, she realized something more. The fight ahead
Today,
would
we
not
will
just
explore
be
the
for her
critical
own
importance of
redemption,
water conservation.
but for all those who trusted in truth over power. The
Not being good
courtroom
enough.
climax, the marble corridors of the New York Supreme Court pulsed with nervous anticipation. Reporters jockeyed for position at the heavy glass doors, their cameras poised.
Yes, I
while
understand
lawyers
the
in
importance of
pinstripes
highlighting
and
the
heels
methodology.
marched
I've been
quickly
refining it all
along
week.
the echoing hallways. Inside courtroom 6B, whispers flickered like candle flames. This was no ordinary case. Today, the city's
We are
legal
pleased to
circles,
award you the
and perhaps the
2025
entire
Green
world
Futures
of finance,
Fellowship.
would hear the truth behind a scandal that had rocked
This
one of
research has
Manhattan's
fundamentally
most
shifted our
venerable
understanding
law
of
firms.
oceanic ecosystems
Emily Parker
and their
sat
resilience.
quietly at the edge of the gallery,
Lily,
her
your
hands
methodology
folded
is
around a
truly
battered
outstanding,
notebook.
and I'd
Though
be
she
honored
was
to
no
have you
longer
join
the
my lab
defendant,
after your
her
graduation.
heart threatened to leap
Here's
from
where
her
we
chest.
need to focus.
Every strand of her braided nerves pulled
We could
taut
adjust this
as the
parameter.
bailiff
Yes,
called the
that
court
makes sense.
to order. At the long defense
A
table,
leader,
Monica
a
Reed
thinker,
and David Miller
and an
looked
inspiration.
polished but frayed, their eyes darting. Their team of high-priced attorneys rifled through thick files, whispering in urgent tones. Meanwhile, the prosecution, bolstered by months of meticulous investigation and the fresh evidence unearthed by Emily, radiated a quiet confidence. The presiding judge, a formidable woman known for her wit and razor-sharp sense of justice,
I
surveyed the
understand
courtroom
the expectations,
over the rim
and I am
of her
ready
glasses.
to face them head on.
Counselors, are we ready to proceed? The prosecutor's opening argument cut through the tension. With crisp clarity, he painted the broad contours of Monica and David's scheme, laundering millions through shell companies, falsifying signatures, manipulating internal controls at Gray, Lowell and Barnes. He cited, not rumor, but dates and documents, a veritable roadmap constructed from Emily's indefatigable efforts. David's attorney rose and tried to deflect. He painted his client as a mere cog, swept up by Monica's ambition, a loyal employee pressured by circumstance. Monica's lawyers struck a different chord, attacking procedural technicalities, hinting at entrapment, and even accusing Emily of vindictiveness. But as the parade of witnesses began, their confidence grew shaky. First came the financial experts, taking the jury through a labyrinth of transactions. Every arrow on the flowcharts pointed back to Monica's intricate web of accounts. Screens flickered with close-ups, forged signatures, digital fingerprints, and the IP addresses that matched Monica's
I was just
midnight
trying to help.
logins. Then, a parade of former employees, many called by the prosecution. The courtroom listened to junior associates whisper
don't know what
about
to do
unusual
anymore.
bonuses
This
and
is all
secret
our
meetings.
fault.
An IT specialist described how
Good
external
luck.
hard drives,
Hey, night.
ordered by Monica and often signed for by David, had vanished shortly before the audit began. But the real turning point arrived with the surprise witnesses. One by one, people Emily
It's
had
a lovely
privately
evening, isn't
encouraged
it?
came out of the woodwork. A weary bookkeeper tearfully
We need
recounted
to
the
ensure
pressure
all samples
she
are
faced
properly
to
labeled
just
and
fix the
documented
numbers
before we
on
proceed with the
client
environmental
ledgers.
assessment.
An administrative assistant handed over copies of late-night emails in Monica's own voice, discussing moving the funds before
I'm
Thursday.
sorry,
Each testimony built
I
a
should have
wall
been kinder to
around
you.
the defense, brick by brick. Finally,
It's always
the
someone else's fault,
prosecution
isn't it?
called Emily to the stand.
Lily,
A hush
what do you
swept
think I
over
should
the
do
room
now?
as she rose. Despite the churning in her stomach, years of training steadied her. She answered each question with measured team, never once casting herself as a victim. Instead, she meticulously recounted the facts, the discrepancies she found in her digital signature, the day she discovered the real-time stamps,
I am truly
her
sorry.
observations of Monica's patterns, the night she
Forgive
recovered
me.
critical documents from the office under the cleaning crew's noses. The cross-examination was merciless. Monica's defense tried to shake her,
We have to talk about this
dredging up old
situation.
emails, challenging her
I am
memory,
not sure what you mean.
and implying she had something to gain from their downfall. Emily
You've put us
never
on the
wavered.
map.
Even when Monica's lawyer accused her of orchestrating a witch hunt, she returned fire with her own evidence. Screenshots time-stamped, receipts in her name from a team dinner miles away from where the fraudulent transfers supposedly occurred. As she finished, Emily looked directly at Monica
I've
and
been
David.
looking into jobs outside
Monica's icy
Silverbrook.
confidence had melted
I'm
into
not
a
afraid
hollow
to forge
stare.
my own path.
David looked utterly broken,
Thank you
head
for
in his
trying,
hands.
for
The
listening,
closing arguments
for finally
struck the
learning to
final
see
notes
me
of
as I
drama.
was.
The prosecution spoke not just of dollars and fraud,
I will
but
not
of
be
trust,
staying at the Carson house.
how the very core of justice rests on integrity. The
I want
defense
to build
pleaded
a
for
life
mercy,
with space
but there
for
was
all
little
that I
sympathy
am,
left among
on
the
my own
jurors.
terms.
The judge's gavel echoed as deliberations
Take care of yourself,
began.
Lily.
Every second in the waiting chamber felt stretched beyond endurance. Emily paced the windowless hallway, Jessica never far from her side. Their whispered conversations shifted between hope and dread. Would the jury see the truth through the tangle of legal complexity?
I'm sorry
After
to
what
keep doing
seemed
this.
like an
I
eternity,
just don't know
the
what else
jury
to say.
returned. The entire courtroom leaned forward
I think that's got it.
as the four-person
Sometimes it just
stood
takes a bit of a knack to
on
get
the
these old things
charges
back together.
of wire fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. We find the defendants guilty on all counts.
You should have
A
seen it.
collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Monica deflated in her chair, shock warring with resignation. David's shoulders shook as guards moved in. The judge moved swiftly. Given the egregious and calculated nature of these crimes, sentencing will be expedited. The words resounded: disbarment, restitution, and prison terms for both Monica and David. As Monica and David were led away, the gallery came to life.
Lily,
Reporters
you are braver
scribbling,
than the legacy
spectators
admits.
murmuring. Through the noise, Emily remained still. Relief washed over her in surges. Not triumph, but the closure that comes from justice finally prevailing. In the days that followed, Emily's name appeared not as a scandal, but as a symbol of perseverance. The New York Times ran a feature on the lawyer who refused to be broken. Messages from old friends and respected colleagues filled her inbox. The law firm issued a grudging retraction and apology. Yet, vindication brought its own complexities. Emily felt no simplistic joy. Instead, she thought of every sacrifice, every sleepless night spent stitching together the case, the friendships strained, and the wounds that would never fully close. She realized the trial
This part
was
right
only
here
the
is
end of one
especially
battle,
important.
the beginning of another journey, in which she would have to rediscover who she was.
I'll
when
make sure the
noise
proposal
faded.
is on your desk by
As
morning.
the doors of the courthouse opened and golden autumn light spilled onto the
What do you call a
marble,
fake noodle?
Emily stepped outside.
An impasta.
Jessica joined her, offering a rare, quiet smile.
Please,
You did
I
it,
insist.
Jessica whispered.
It is on me.
Emily nodded, feeling at long last that she could breathe. The city's
the
chaos
secret?
surrounded her, but for
I
a
will
fleeting
never tell
moment,
you.
Emily Parker felt whole again collapse. For Monica Reed and David Miller, the world unraveled, not in the abrupt drama of flashing cameras and police shouts,
I have
but in the
something to tell
steady,
you.
merciless grind of consequences that followed. The morning after their conviction, headlines blared across every news channel. Corporate fraud scandal rocks elite Manhattan firm, fallen stars, attorneys behind bars. Their photographs, once symbols of promise in glossy,
Are you
firm
ready to tell me
newsletters
why you're really
and legal
here, Ryan?
magazines,
I told you everything
now
already.
served as warnings. Faces cast in cold,
Oh, we have
unforgiving
to do group
light.
double dates. We
The
just
city
have to.
that had once fawned over their success turned cold overnight. Monica woke in the city jail. The sterile flicker
Well,
of
it
overhead
is nice to
lights
see you finally
replacing
found your
her
footing.
penthouse suite's sun-drenched marble.
I was just
The
about to
tailored
tell you.
suits,
Oh,
the
I'm
designer
sure it can
handbags,
wait.
all had been stripped away, just as her titles and reputation had
Are
been.
my friends really my
Constant
friends,
chatter
or
from
am
the
I just
cells and
imagining
heavy
things?
footsteps in the corridor became her new soundtrack. She kept to herself, face carefully blank, but the eyes of Belle, guards, and inmates followed her everywhere.
I cannot believe
The
this
woman who
happened.
once commanded boardrooms
I know,
now
it is
stood
such a
alone
mess.
in a world where none of her influence mattered. David fared no better. If anything, his collapse was quieter, but perhaps more profound. The charm that had once swayed juries became brittle under the weight of interrogation, rumor, and isolation.
I just need
Inmates
some
regarded
space.
him with suspicion or outright contempt. Other white-collar offenders gave him a wide berth. Night after night, he replayed his choices, unable to justify them, even to himself.
This is so fun.
His mind gnawed at memories of Emily and all he'd thrown away, for greed, for admiration,
How could you
for the
do
brief
this?
glow of power. His
I
family's
really
phone
don't
calls
see what the big deal
were
is.
rare and terse, filled with disappointment and questions
They're saying you've been a
for
little
which he had
unstable
no
emotionally.
answers. The law firm, desperate to preserve what was left of its legacy, immediately severed all ties. Monica and David's names vanished from promotional materials,
This
their
dip has been
portraits
quite
removed
significant.
from the partner wall.
Can you explain
Junior
what happened, Emily?
associates whispered in the hallways
They have no idea.
about how no one was safe. Some employees,
Not a clue.
secretly complicit, quietly resigned. A series of panicked board meetings led to sweeping internal reforms, new compliance programs, whistleblower protections, and required ethics seminars. Old friends stopped answering calls or responding to letters. A brutal excommunication rendered in silence rather than words.
Good morning,
The
Amanda.
professional fallout was matched only by the personal
Friends and
devastation.
quiet happiness.
Monica's luxurious West Village apartment awaited auction to pay restitution. Once invited to galas and private art
Come on,
showings,
Emily, keep going.
she was now blocked from social circles
Be here.
that
This
had
data
only
point is
valued her
crucial.
status. Invitations vanished as if she'd never existed. Former colleagues deleted photographs
While I appreciate
and
the
scrubbed
enthusiasm,
social
the idea
media
might need a
mentions,
bit more refinement
fearful
before we
of
present it.
reputational contagion. Even
The
Monica's
data
parents,
clearly indicates a
long proud
significant
of their
upward
daughter's
trend, exceeding our
trailblazing
initial
career,
projections.
were forced to swallow their pride amid pitying
Emily,
looks and
Your
questions
thoroughness on
from
this
old
case
neighbors.
has been truly
David's fall
exceptional.
was more private, but just as devastating. Letters from his parents, formerly filled with praise, had become sparse and strained. Unable
And
to
that's when
pay
I
his
realized
mounting legal bills,
We weren't just looking
he
for
sold his
adventure.
car
We were
and moved
creating
out of the
memories.
brownstone he had once shared with Emily. Vultures circled, predatory lawyers, angry former clients, even tabloid reporters eager for an exclusive soundbite. The shame was suffocating. For David, the worst punishment was not prison or bankruptcy, but the memory of Emily's betrayed face, forever seared into his thoughts. Meanwhile,
Truly an
the
honor,
legal
though much
community
of this
watched
success, I must
with a mix of
confess, is thanks
vindication
to a team
and
effort,
fear.
especially
For some,
Emily's unwavering
Monica and
support.
David's downfall was proof of justice. For others, it was a cautionary tale. Judges issued stern warnings to young attorneys about the price of compromised ethics. Several universities reconsidered lectures and honors previously
Letting
planned
Amanda
in Monica's name.
present.
Articles and op-eds dissected the meaning of trust and ambition in high-powered law,
Congratulations, Emily.
picking over
We'll be
every
reviewing
detail
your
for
file for
lessons
the executive
that could be
position.
learned, or, just as often, ignored. Yet, amidst
I
the
assure
wreckage,
you, what happened was a
something
complete
unexpected
misunderstanding.
began to shift for Emily.
Just
Though
go.
her scars still ached, and though some circles would never again welcome her, the general tone around her changed.
Oh my gosh,
Old
I am
friends,
so sorry about
those
that.
who
I
had kept
really
their
am.
distance, sent brief messages of apology, admitting their hesitation and wishing her well. A few trusted mentors agreed to meet over coffee or lunch, gently prodding her to share her story, promising support as she found her next steps. The
Lily,
firm's
your
new
recent
managing
actions have
partner,
raised some serious
seeking
concerns
to
among the board
restore
members.
public
I
faith,
assure you, my intentions were
issued a
always in the
formal
best
apology
interest of
to
the
Emily,
organization.
both
That's so
privately
funny.
and in a public statement.
You should have
While
seen
the
your
words
face.
could not erase what she had
Oh my
suffered,
goodness.
they signaled a tectonic shift. Local and national media, previously eager for scandal, now reframed their coverage,
Accountability
interviewing
is
Emily
about owning
about
our
the
choices,
dangers of
our
unchecked
actions,
ambition
and their impact,
and the strength
both
it took
individually
to come
and
back
as a
from the
team.
brink.
We are
Headlines
truly
called her
honored to
the
present a
lawyer who
solution that
fought the
not only
frame
addresses our immediate
and a
challenges, but
cautionary
also
tale
paves the
of
way for a
resilience.
more sustainable future.
For Monica and David, there was nothing left to restore. Disbarment was merely the final stamp on futures already destroyed. Their careers, once the envy of Manhattan's legal elite, became warnings for every associate who
My
ever
company has
considered
a
cutting
unique
a corner.
opportunity for
In the
collaboration,
quiet that
leveraging
followed,
our extensive
both Monica
network.
and David confronted what they had lost.
We
Not
promise.
just power, money, or status, but the belief that victory at any price could be justified. Monica's letters from prison went unanswered.
Are you
The
falling
allies
behind?
who remained were, like
Are you
her,
falling behind?
casualties of their own ambition. David read every news story from his cell, unable to turn away from the public judgment,
We expect this
finding,
innovative approach
each
to yield
headline,
substantial
a
returns.
new depth of
Truly a
regret.
testament to our
In their
team's
twilight
collaborative
hours,
spirit.
The praise
We have a
of
tight
years
deadline on this
past
project.
rang hollow.
So we need to
All that
ensure all our
remained
resources are
was the
optimized.
echo of
I
their
suggest
choices.
we reallocate some of the team.
Meanwhile,
That's
Emily
a
took her
brave
first
choice of outfit for
tentative
the
steps
meeting. Yeah.
towards something like peace. She did not relish her adversaries' destruction,
So glad
but
you could
neither
make it.
did she mourn them. Her sense of justice was restored, yet
Thank
she
you for having me.
understood, perhaps for the first time, the fragility of reputations and the necessity of compassion for those left behind after a fall. Life was not the same,
There is no
and it
reason
never
to be
would
sad.
be.
We love you.
But as the dust settled, Emily sensed a shifting current, possibility where there had once been only despair. On a brisk morning, weeks after the case had closed, Emily visited her old apartment one last time to collect a box of her things. She found a faded photograph of herself with David, snapped during happier days. For a moment, she stared, mourning not
Emily,
only what had ended,
I must admit,
but all that
your
had
recent
been
performance
lost
has given me
to
significant
greed
cause for
and pride.
concern.
Then, gently, she placed the photo in the box, not out of sentimentality, but as a quiet record of what she had survived. In the world outside, the city moved on. New cases filled the dockets, new scandals
Never
captured the
blind in
headlines,
trust.
and new names replaced the disgraced. Yet one story remained in the collective memory, a reminder that power can crumble, that justice can swing both ways, and that sometimes, in the aftermath, hope very quietly begins again, rising from
Hi,
the ashes.
is this spot taken?
The cold bite of winter
No,
faded,
please join us.
and with spring came the tentative promise
Whistleblowers
of new
face
beginnings.
significant personal risk
Emily
and
Parker
sacrifice,
had spent
but their
months
actions
fighting for
often
her
lead to vital
reputation,
societal changes.
then months more simply enduring. But healing, she discovered, was not passive. It was a painstaking,
Always remember that
deliberate
negotiation is not about winning.
one that required
It's about
courage
finding common ground.
beyond anything she'd faced in the courtroom. She stood in the center of a
Embrace
narrow,
the journey.
sunlit
For
office
every
in
challenge
Park Slope,
overcome builds the
surrounded
foundation
by
of your
paint
future
cans,
success.
a chipped desk,
What do we do now?
and a scatter of used
We need
legal
to be
textbooks.
We need to be careful.
The space
yes,
was
very
modest.
careful.
A faded sign in the window announcing Parker and Associates.
The final report
Advocacy
clearly
for
shows
the
an
wronged.
increase in profit
Old
margins.
fears rose whenever she caught her reflection.
Emily, your
Traces of
dedication
betrayal,
truly stands
public
out.
humiliation.
You've earned this
the
promotion
sharp
to the
ache of
cross-departmental
loss.
task force.
But in this place, possibility glimmered. This was her answer. An office not of prestige or power, but of purpose. Emily never considered returning to the old firm. Even after the formal apologies, and belated invitations to luncheons. The building itself,
Hi, Lily.
grand
I
as it
appreciate you
was,
reaching out, but
felt
I need
haunted.
some space right now.
its marble
I hope you
corridors
understand.
echoed with betrayals she
It's
had
a lovely day,
survived,
isn't it?
but could never quite forget. Instead, she hung a cheap framed diploma on her new wall beside flyers for pro bono clinics and glossy pamphlets on tenant rights. For the first time, the symbols of her past reclaimed meaning on her terms. Her first clients
So I told
weren't
her,
high
I'm
profile.
not doing that. And she looked at me
One
and said, oh,
was a
yes,
single
you
mother
are.
facing eviction.
That's hilarious.
Her landlord,
I can't believe you said
emboldened
that.
by her lack of means. Another, a grocery clerk accused of theft over a bureaucratic mix-up, arrived at Emily's door.
I want to extend
clutching
my
a manila
heartfelt thanks
envelope
to Mark and
and
Sarah
hope
for their
worn
incredible
thin.
dedication
Emily
and hard
listened
work on this
quietly,
project.
undistracted, offering more patience than advice at their first meetings. Her own ordeal had pried open a vein of empathy that legal training alone could not teach. The work was exhausting and uncertain. Some days, Emily felt like
I
she
really
was
hear what
bailing
you are
water
saying,
from a
but
sinking boat.
Sometimes the best thing
Legal
you can do is
fees
just let
unpaid.
things be.
Her fledgling office's future subject
Emily,
to the city's
I was hoping to ask for
relentless
some of your
tidal
time
forces.
and guidance.
But small victories mattered. Each grateful thank you, each
No.
letter dismissing a bogus
No.
claim, became a building block in Emily's new life. She was shaping a
Confidence
legacy
isn't about
not
being
measured
fearless.
in billable
It's about
hours,
acknowledging our
but in
fears
lives
and
patched,
choosing to rise
sometimes
above them.
incompletely, but always honestly. Outside the office,
Please welcome to the
relationships,
stage, Emily
once
Sinclair.
casualties of her disgrace,
Document
slowly
your
mended.
worth and trust your
Jessica,
instincts.
still incorrigible and loyal, was both cheering section and occasional critic. Your sign's crooked again, she remarked one morning, squinting at the peeling letters from the street.
If I could just add,
But it was Jessica who organized
explore some
Emily's
alternatives.
first soft opening, inviting neighbors, former clients, and a few trusted reporters to a makeshift reception, complete with deli sandwiches and store-bought cookies. Emily's parents visited from Connecticut, uncertain but proud. For the first time since the scandal broke, their voices were free from that brittle tension. Concern
You won't
replaced
believe
by
what I
curiosity
just heard about the new project.
and
Oh, do
eventually renewed faith. Over takeout in her tiny apartment, Emily's father said quietly, "You could have
Betrayal
left
is an
the city
essential
far
rite
behind.
of passage.
We'd have understood, but you stayed."
So the next steps
That
are
means
clear,
something.
and I'm confident we'll achieve our
Forgiveness,
goals.
hardest of all tasks, began within herself. Some wounds closed slowly. On nights colored by old anxieties, Emily replayed heated confrontations, and the bitter sense of innocence lost. She forced herself, sometimes haltingly, to grieve the life she had wanted with David, the friends she would never regain, the belief in
We
permanent
should do this
safety
again soon.
that now seemed naive. But rather than wallow, she learned to honor those losses. They were chapters, painful, unchangeable, but neither the whole story nor its purpose. She even began to read again,
I can always rely on
not
Emily's
just dense
thoroughness.
case law, but
That's
poetry,
good to hear.
memoirs, and late-night blogs penned by other survivors.
So
Each
how have things been
act
going
of
for you,
vulnerability
Jessica?
from a stranger
you know,
knitted
busy as
Emily
always.
further into the vast, invisible fabric of those who had weathered storms. Some wrote seeking advice. Others
Would you want to do lunch today?
just to say,
Unfortunately,
"Thank you
I
for
am
showing
all
there
booked
is a
up.
way through." Emily always replied, affirming that standing up did not require perfection.
Understanding your opponent's
Only
motivations
persistence.
is crucial
Word
for
of her
successful
small
negotiation.
practice spread. It was not long before local social service agencies, domestic violence shelters, and even public defenders
You're a little too
began to
confident for
send
your
her
own good.
referrals. The fired whistleblower, the wage theft victim, the wrongly accused. Each client reminded Emily of herself, resilient but battered, wary of
So
both the
true.
system and its would-be saviors. She promised never to exploit their stories as headlines. The victories were quieter now. A last-minute stay of eviction. A settlement that bought groceries for another month.
So I thought we
No
could
one offered
brainstorm
standing
some fresh
ovations.
ideas for the quarter.
That was just fine. Her new colleagues, an assistant fresh from paralegal school, and a recent law grad, squeezed out by a larger firm, brought their own shadows and fresh ambition. Emily insisted on
so
open-paced
empty.
meetings and honest discussions. A culture built on
I'd like to thank
transparency
Kevin for his
instead of
invaluable
fear.
contribution to these
She
key
instituted a
findings.
second chance file. Every client and every staff member was
Is it
encouraged
true
to
what
keep
they are
notes
saying about
on
Emily
lessons
falling
learned,
behind?
missteps, and all. Occasionally, the past surfaced. Once, waiting for the subway, she caught sight of a former partner.
The key is to
from
leverage our
Gray,
data
Lowell,
analytics to
and
predict
Barnes.
market shifts before they
His
occur,
expression
rather
was
than react to
complicated.
them.
Regret,
So I ended
perhaps
up going
apology,
on this incredible trip.
certainly
And
surprise.
it was
But
the
Emily
most
only met his
amazing
gaze for a
experience
moment
of my life.
before turning away. There was no need for confrontation or retribution.
Emily,
The
I
city
just
was
wanted to
big
offer
enough
some help with
for
that document.
unfinished stories. What Emily could not have predicted was how liberating that detachment would become. She no longer needed to prove her innocence
Regarding the
to
asset
anyone.
allocation,
The
our strategic
courtroom
rebalancing
victory
over the last
and her
quarter has
adversaries'
positioned us
collapse
favorably against
were
current market
humbling
volatility.
chapters, not the entirety of her story. She was free, not because the world had forgotten, but because she had learned to carry her scars, gazing forward, not back. By late spring, when the city's trees erupted in green and sunlight lingered late, Emily hosted an open house for fellow survivors, miscarriages
Mastering
of
public
justice,
speaking is about connection.
whistleblowers,
Engage your
lawyers, and
audience by
clients
being
alike.
authentic and clear.
She invited speakers and,
I didn't
at
even know it
Jessica's
was possible
urging,
to confuse
read
those two
aloud
things.
an essay on the courage of telling one's truth. The office was cramped and a bit too warm, but the laughter and shared determination filled the room beyond its walls. As dusk settled outside, Emily stood at her window, looking down at Brooklyn's glowing horizon. The
Amanda,
life she imagined
would you mind moving
years
to an
before,
open desk for a bit, please?
unblemished, strictly planned, was gone. But something
Hi there.
richer
I know you're
took
busy,
its place.
but I just wanted to say that
A
it's
life
so great to
pieced
finally
together
see you.
from loss, hard work, and an unbreakable thread of hope. In place of bitterness, there was resolve. In place of fear, the quiet pride
You've
of
really
someone
grown in your confidence
fought her
and
way
setting
out,
clear boundaries.
resilient,
It's truly inspiring to see.
wiser, and wholly her own. And as the night fell and the last guests left, Emily sat at her new desk,
Trusting
beneath the cheap
instincts.
diploma and battered bookshelf, and allowed herself, for the first time, to truly exhale.
What to
She had
trust,
risen, not
Who
only
to
from
trust,
defeat, but toward
when to
purpose.
keep silent.
A phoenix stitched together by the courage to try again
Please
and
understand,
the grace
this is vitally
to
important.
help others do the same. The letter unsent, the city never truly slept. Its lights flickered and hummed through every hour. And on this restless April night, Emily Parker sat surrounded by the gentle clutter of her rebuilt life. Caffeine cooled in a chipped mug. Drafts of motions and client files fanned across the narrow table she called her desk.
That's hilarious.
Yet what demanded her attention tonight was something less tangible. A letter she owed no
Our
one,
analysis shows a
yet needed for
15%
herself,
increase in market share,
and,
exceeding
perhaps,
projections due to
for
strategic
anyone
pivots
who
in
had ever
Q3.
known the scar of betrayed trust. She found an old sheet of stationery,
We value
faded
integrity
blue
above
trim,
all.
the kind she'd once used for job applications, and thank you notes. For a
Sigh.
long moment, Emily stared at the blank page. Then, with the city's soft blur beyond her window and the honest quiet of solitude, she began. To those who have lost
Internal
and
competition
loved
and recognition.
trusted, trust is the scaffold of every life. Fragile and
Emily,
invisible,
that last presentation
holding
was
us
exceptional.
aloft.
Could you
until
share
the
some
day
contacts
it
for a similar
shatters.
project?
For years, I built myself with certainty, brick by brick, promise by promise, believing that if I
I think
worked
their
hard
biggest misstep
and
was
loved
underestimating
honestly,
the impact
the
of internal
universe would
communication
reward
and how it really
and
affects
protect
morale
that
and
faith.
overall productivity.
I was wrong.
We anticipate
Or
a minor
perhaps
adjustment in the
I was
Q3
only young.
projections,
Betrayal
particularly in
is
the
not a
emerging
single
market
act.
sector.
It is a slow unwinding.
And our
For
proactive
me,
approach
it
means
wore
we
the
identify
face of a
challenges
man
before
I
they become
loved
problems.
and a colleague
Jessica,
I
with all due
respected.
respect, there have
It
been
was
some
the
concerns.
misplaced document,
Due to the
the
unforeseen
silent
events at the
phone,
gala, we must
the look
retract our
in the
donation
eyes
offer.
of friends who once believed in me and, in the
We must
echoing
acknowledge
silence
the uncomfortable
after,
truths,
did not know
regardless
how.
of how
There were
challenging
nights
they may be.
when I believed I would not,
We have a
could
unique
not
opportunity to
get up from
streamline
the
these
floor
processes.
of
I
my
agree.
own
The
grief.
data supports
The
that.
city beyond my
Let's
window
move forward with this
thrummed
strategy.
with life, but my world shrank to a few square feet in an isolating question. Who am I without their trust? If you are reading this, maybe you know that question. You may already have lost more than you can say. You may doubt yourself and wish away the stubborn ache that lingers long after the apologies and headlines fade. I won't give advice. There's little comfort in platitude. I can only share what time and pain have taught me. First,
And what did
betrayal
you
is
observe
never
regarding
about you
Lily's
alone.
character and leadership
What
at
others
the
do
nonprofit?
from weakness, ambition, or fear does not reduce your worth. Their lies, their silence, are the measure of their character, not yours. Second, you are allowed to break. The world shames us for grief. It worships
I'll make sure to
strength,
get this scheduled as
as
soon
if
as
it is a
possible,
mask
with
that can be
or without
fixed
her
to a
approval.
face and never slip. But real strength is slow, uneven, and often silent. I learned this not in courtrooms, but in the raw mornings afterwards,
How about I help you out with
when
that if you
all
like?
I could
Oh,
do
yes,
was
thank
breathe
you.
and not disappear. Third, you may never receive the apology you deserve.
You're
David
doing such a great
never
job.
looked me in the eye
Redo
when
our
the
poor
handcuffs
James.
closed. Monica's final
Our
smirk
first agenda
was her
item
answer.
is to review the quarterly
Justice
performance.
did not return my old life, but it gave me space for a new one. Forgiving isn't forgetting. It is refusing to let their
This is
choices
just so frustrating.
become your prison. Fourth, trust again. Anyway, not blindly, not as before, but inch by inch, among those who show up when you are at your most unlovable. For me, that was Jessica. Her stubborn friendship, the way she left groceries at my
So
door
how do we address
and
internal
refused
competition
to let me
when it
vanish
arises in our teams?
into my pain. Fifth, find purpose in the fire.
Thank you for your
What they
unwavering
destroyed
capacity to
was
stand
not
for
the
truth.
end. It was an unwanted beginning. From the ashes, I built something honest and uncertain, a space for others who
Let's
have
try
been
this approach
silenced,
for the next quarter.
blamed,
And how should we address
or
the
overlooked.
fluctuations in the market?
Each
We will
case
focus
I
on
take
diversifying our
is a
investments
note
to
of
mitigate
defiance.
risk.
Each smile from a client is a small resurrection. You do not have to become a hero, but you can become whole.
This is it
One
then.
fleck of hope
All that
at
work
a time.
for nothing.
If this letter say means anything, let it be this.
The analysis
life is
clearly
unbreakable,
indicates a significant
but every
opportunity
heart
for
can
market
heal.
diversification,
Guilt
leveraging
and
our
shame
current
are heavy,
strengths.
but neither is a sentence to solitude or despair. Trust, battered and rebuilt, is different. It no longer glows with naivete. It shimmers, battered but true, in places you could never have predicted, over late-night coffee, in a returned phone call, or in the unspoken solidarity of loss transformed by compassion. I do not know what tomorrow holds, but tonight, looking out at this city that once devoured me and now holds the seeds of my future, I am willing, at last, to trust myself again. With hope, Emily Parker, she paused, letting the pen rest at the edge of the page. There were more thoughts, memories of her parents' forgiveness, Jessica's wry encouragement, even the faces of those she once called friends drifting back, cautiously, as the scandal faded into distant newsprint. But this letter, she realized, was enough. It was hers, meant for no inbox, no blog, No courtroom. Tomorrow, perhaps, she would share some version of it with a client, or tuck its sentiments into her remarks at an upcoming advocacy breakfast. Tonight, it belonged only to her. A soft ping sounded from her email, an urgent query from a tenant group fighting eviction. Emily closed the notebook, rising to stretch her sore shoulders by the window. Across the street, a neon sign blinked, a 24-hour diner, a reminder that the city's rhythm pulsed on, indifferent and yet full of possibility. She turned back and slipped the letter into a drawer beside her desk, alongside business cards and cracked photographs, a quiet archive of journeys survived and bridges burned or rebuilt. She didn't need to revisit the darkness, but neither would she forget it.
I know, right?
Even the shadows had shaped her. The next day, Emily arrived early
my
at her
goodness,
office,
that is just too
carrying
funny.
pastry and strong coffee for her small staff. She greeted her assistant and looked over the day's case file. A young whistleblower facing retaliation from a corporate giant. The cycle was familiar: injustice, fear, desperate hope. But so too was the possibility of change. Before the first client arrived, Emily glanced at her unopened letter.
What's so
She whispered, "Let's get to work." The city
a meme.
outside buzzed
Love
and
you,
rumbled.
Reese.
Cars, voices, fragments of other stories, some ending, some just beginning. Emily tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and smiled, not in triumph, but in quiet
I just had
readiness.
to stay a little late tonight.
There
you know?
would be
These
more
new projects
battles.
are really
There would
taking
always
off.
be risk of disappointment, of trust, broken and battered again. But she learned the hardest truth. Each betrayal can mark a rebirth, if you choose to rise. And as a new name
This
appeared on her
bacon is
calendar,
too
an unfamiliar
crispy.
case, another life in need, she set her mind, one last time, not on the past, but on the promise shimmering just ahead.